Hi, a video I've been making around on the social media, especially on Facebook, and this video is concerning the interview granted by Sheikh Yasir Qadhi. The interviewer was actually Mohamed Hijab. Now, the issue that they discussed about, or the issue that they talked about, were actually many. They talked about a lot of things, but amongst other things that was discussed, the issue of the preservation of the Quran was discussed. Now, what made this particular section of the interview very interesting is due to the fact that Sheikh Yasir Qadhi actually mentioned some certain things that they have not talked about for so many years. In fact, this issue that he's talking about in this particular interview in the video has been on for so many years, but he has not discussed it openly or even with individuals for so many years. So it's like he's just bringing this into, the open. He's bringing it to the public, and a lot of Muslims were actually shocked at what he said. Now, for you to just have an idea, just in case you've not watched the video, to have an idea of what we're talking about here, I'm going to show you some snippets of the video so you have an idea, and then we'll get into the comment section of the Muslims, the reaction that they have concerning this video. Now, let's take a look at the snippet of the video.
Every single student of knowledge knows, who studies Ulum al-Quran, that the most difficult topics are Ahruf and Qiraat, and the concept of Ahruf and the reality of Ahruf, and the relationship of the Uthmanic Mus'haf with the Ahruf, and the preservation of the Ahruf. Is it 1, is it 3, is it 7? And the relationship of the Qiraat to the Ahruf. This is a topic that when you're the beginning student of knowledge, you're like, what is all of this going on here? When you go a little bit more, you learn to simply memorize what your teachers say and regurgitate it out, and you don't fully comprehend. When you do a deep dive is when things get very, very awkward and difficult. And this isn't new. This is from the time of the Sahaba. This is not a joke, brothers and sisters. The issue of Ahruf and Qiraat caused confusion to somebody whom the Prophet ﷺ said, if you want to listen to the Quran directly, listen to Ubay. Ubay is not some even average Sahabi. He is the Qari of the Quran. He is the master. He is who he is. And he goes, فَدَخَلْ فِي نَفْسِي شَكْ. What is all of this stuff? This was the issue. That the issue of Ahruf and preservation and Qiraat and relationships between them, these are very, very difficult issues. And the most advanced of our scholars, they're not quite fully certain how to solve all of the unanswered questions in there. The crisis was very simple. Traditional understandings of Ahruf and Qiraat cannot answer some of these pressing questions that are now being poked by our people outside of, by our academics, by their academics outside of the faith tradition. When you go to academia, they don't have that red line. And they're going to just, the famous story of the emperor with no clothes. They're going to just point out, no, that doesn't make any sense. Well, that's not true, and this and that. And they'll bring issues, which I'm not going to mention explicitly, that are true because they're in your own books. They're not inventing anything new. And it's very clear to you and to every single very advanced student and specialist that the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say. The standard narrative does not answer some very pressing questions. What is happening in the last few years is not me anymore. It's the Western academics. These problems are now becoming mainstream.
Alright, so that was just the snippet of the video, and believe me, it's mind-blowing and interesting video. Now, if you want to watch the full video, you can just check the description link below. I linked to the video where you can watch the full 30-minute interview, and it's no holds bar, very interesting, and you see the reason why the Muslims are actually reacting to this video. Now, before I begin to go into the comment section, the Muslims, what they are saying concerning this video, I would like to read to you what Mohamed Hijab posted after the video came out. Some concern have been raised in my previous interview with Dr. Yasir Qadhi on the last question I asked him about the Qiraat and the Ahruf. Me asking him this question, which was a complicated question, which is not meant for the lay audiences, has led to the confusion of many people. I took responsibility for this. It was a spur of the moment question and not planned. What Dr. Qadhi actually said, though, is no reason for any Muslim or non-Muslim opportunists to get excited. It is clear that it's simply outlining the need for Muslim academics to engage with new types of critique, especially in the light of the latest attacks against the Quran. I think it is fair that we judge Dr. Yasir Qadhi on his written works on the topic. He has made it clear that they plan to release something in the future on this issue, and is consulting with scholars and other experts. In conversation with him after the interview, it is clear to me that he has the opinion that concludes with some earlier authorities from our tradition, as the interview itself alluded to. As he said in the interview directly to me, These views that he has about the specifics of the Qiraat have nothing to do with the fundamentals belief in our faith that the Quran is the speech of Allah and fully preserved. Rest assured, if Dr. Qadhi holds an opinion that opposes the ijma of the Ummah or makes an antinormative claim, it will be refuted, not by me or any of the non-specialists, but by all our major scholars, as Dr. Qadhi said himself, that is part of the territory. However, as of yet, and in all our conversations, I have not seen any opinion of his that is without some precedent from our tradition or that contradicts the belief in the preservation of the Quran. Now, as we have seen in the last paragraph, we can see Mohamed Hijab assuring his audience that what Dr. Yasir Qadhi said is not out of the normative. In other words, what he's saying is orthodox. In other words, Dr. Yasir Qadhi actually believes that the Quran has been preserved, and all of the things that he mentioned that the Muslims find troubling shouldn't be troubling to them at all. But the interesting thing is this: if truly Hijab believes in his own statement and believes in what he has actually written on Facebook, then why did he remove this last part of the conversation in his own video on YouTube? Now, it will be of interest for you to know that while the video interview lasted for about 1 hour 41 minutes on Dr. Yasir Qadhi's YouTube channel, the one that Mohamed Hijab actually uploaded to his own channel does not have the last 30-minute part of this discussion that we're talking about. Now, take a look at the screen and see what I'm talking about. Again, if Mohamed Hijab feels that what Dr. Yasir Qadhi has actually said is not the reason why some Muslims should be confused or that the Christians should be excited about all these things, then why did he remove the last part of the video? The video that actually talks about the issue of the preservation of the Quran, the Ahruf and the Qiraat. Now, let's go into the the comment section of the Muslims on this particular issue. Mohamed Hijab actually posted this particular post on his Facebook, and the Muslims were actually reacting concerning the particular post and the interview altogether. For the sake of privacy, I'm not going to be showing you the names of these individuals, all right? So I'm going to just show you the comment. You read the comment. If you want to read more of the comment, you can go to Mohamed Hijab page, and then you can see all the comments for yourself and even see more, all right? So let's go into the comment section and see what this Muslim are actually saying concerning the interview. Let's be frank, that interview made more harm than good. Well, what is harmful about the interview? I think it's just being frank. Dr. Yasir Qadhi is just being frank, and he's just saying what his mind. He's saying what he wants to say, all right? So let's check the next comments. Don't even try to worm your way around this one. What you did was totally unacceptable, and you know it. Despite the amount of people that have commented and rebuked, you got this and your previous action, and you still continue to tread down the same path, the path of creating controversies for views. Why should that part of the video be removed? For what reason? Are you trying to hide something? Is there something that you don't want the Muslim Ummah to know? Is there a secret that you're trying to hide that you don't want them to know? So I don't really understand why that video should be removed, okay? Now let's check the next comments. If you knew it wasn't for the lay audiences, the question should not have been asked and the question should not have been answered. This is more than an oversight, bro. People's Islam is at risk with this. It needs to be addressed as quickly as it was answered. By the way, why is People's Islam at risk right here? What has Yasir Qadhi said that is mind-blowing, that is disturbing to the Muslims? Why must all these things be hidden? Why should they not be gotten to the lay audience? Why should the lay audience not get to know about these things? Now, right in my library right there, I have the critical edition of the New Testament, the Nomen Testamentum Graece. I have that in my library right there. I'm not a scholar of textual criticism. I'm not a scholar of any field at all. But I'm a Christian apologist. I understand my Christian faith and I want to know more. So what do? I get the resource that have to do with the critical edition of the Bible, with the history of the Bible, the manuscripts and all of that. Now, I don't need to be a scholar for me to have access to this information. In fact, while I have the Greek right there, I have the English and the Greek again. Why am I doing all this? Why? Because I want to know about the history of my text. And my own scholars are making this available for me to have. They don't want to say that they are not of the opinion that because you are not a scholar of textual criticism, you should not have these resources. Because you are not a scholar of textual criticism, you should not know about this. No. And that's the difference between the Christian faith and the Islamic faith. While our own scholars are putting out information out there for everybody to know, for everybody to see, your own scholars are hiding it. Why? Because they feel that it can cause your Islam to go down the drain. Now let us check the next comment. Okay, it was a spot of the moment question and not intended. Agree. So then why keep that bit in the footage? Surely editing that part out wouldn't have been so hard. It is safe to say then that it was left unedited for the whole of the internet, which includes the lay audience. Again, I don't understand this idea of trying to say that this is not for the lay audience. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that the lay audience are not entitled to knowing the textual history of the Quran? Are you trying to say that the lay audience should not know about the Ahruf and the Qiraat and all the problems and issues that comes with it? Now, why are you trying to hide this? Why are you trying to, make this a scholarly discussion? Why do you want to make it a discussion amongst the scholar alone? I think the Muslim Ummah actually have the right to know about all of these things. Now, let's check the next comment. Some things are never meant for the public. No need to express intellectual prowess to an audience who has no understanding. And what is the essence of scholarship if the scholars cannot make things understandable to the lay audience? I mean, why do we have scholars studying the field? Why do we have scholars doing all the researches? Why do we have the scholars doing all of these things if they cannot explain these things that we're talking about to the lay audience? The reason why we have the likes of Yasir Qadhi, Bella Phillips, and all of these people is because we want them to be able to explain in plain terms to the lay Muslim who have not attained the height of knowledge that they have. So if you're saying that all these things are not meant for the public and they should not be discussed, then what you're saying is that the Islamic scholarship or scholars in Islam are not doing a very good job. Let's take a look at the next comment. You should not have asked that question on a public platform, as you've opened up a can of worms and given those with weak iman or Sheikh Yasir Qadhi's opponents more opportunity to discredit and attack him. I have watched your interview with him, and quite simply, the Sheikh is exploring more answers to Orientalist attack or Western critique. The fact is that certain knowledge continues to evolve, and there is an academic crisis in the Ummah which does not require more analysis after deeper study. As I said, this is the last comment I'm going to be exploring. If you want to read more of this comment, you can go to Mohamed Hijab page and then you can read more of this comment as well. But the question we need to ask is this: what are the Islamic scholars hiding for the Muslims? Why are they not telling them about the history of their books? Why are they not telling them about all these difficulties? As a Christian, I know if I pick up the RSV translation of the Bible, on the footnote, I see some interesting information. Some manuscripts do not have this, some manuscripts do not have that. Why are the Muslims not doing the very same thing? I mean, why are the Muslim scholars not doing the very same thing for the Muslims? Why are they hiding this information from the Muslims? Why are they doing a great disservice to the Islamic Ummah, to the Muslim Ummah, by not giving them this information? Why are they waiting for the Christians to do this information, explore them, and then give it out to the Muslims? This is actually, I think, a disservice from the Islamic scholars to the Muslim Ummah. If the Muslims now discover, even from their own scholars, that according to Yasir Qadhi, according to what they said, that the narrative, the traditional narrative, cannot answer to the academic questions that have been posed, then it means that the Muslims have a serious work to do. And for the Muslims that are saying out there, okay, so for all the things that Yasir Qadhi has said, it does not affect the preservation of the Quran, it does not affect the Quran being the word of God and all of that, that is not actually true. Because if the Qiraat and the Ahruf has problems, which is actually what you derive your readings from, then it means that the preservation of the Quran has a problem as well. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for your time. Don't forget to subscribe for more interesting videos. God bless you.